What is up, Scrub fam? I am back. It's been about a week or so, roughly. Yeah. No, I did a video I think last Sunday, and now I'm doing a video this Sunday. That feels about right. But anyway, before I get started on this video, let me give a shout out to Alec Pastrana and Beard Collectibles, absolute best shop owner on the friggin' planet. If you haven't pre-ordered your product yet, go ahead and do so now. You need to make sure you have it for when these sets drop. I'm kidding. You should probably buy singles for the Tournament of Power set. Unless you really want to buy sealed product. If you want to draft with, or if you're trying to get all the set all at once, you should go ahead and purchase your product from Alec Pastrana at Beard Collectibles. He always has the best prices on product and always usually gets the most out of any of the other shops that are especially down in the Florida area. So if you're looking to spend some money on some sealed product for Tournament of Power, go through Alec. He'll hook you up with a good deal. But anyways, we got ARG Hartford coming up in a matter of weeks. We are there. The format is moving. It is rolling. We are starting to figure out how everything feels in the post-mecha world. And I gotta tell you, a lot's changed. The games have changed in general. The way games play, the length of games have changed. And it's really exciting to be a part of the metagame shift and to be able to get your playtesting in and see all these different changes take place. I've been doing a ton of testing over this past weekend with baby girl Thomas Ingle because he's going to be going to ARG Hartford as well, repping Team Bearded with me. And we're deciphering the format, and as we've seen multiple people say, but it's true, there is no best deck in the format. It just doesn't exist. Every deck has checks and balances, and in fact is incredibly healthy. I do think that the format is balanced as it was before in set 2 before Mecha around Cell Leader, not just Cell Leader, but the Cell Chain in general. So Android Cell decks that play the Cell Chain. So those end up being the level 1 deck, for a myriad of reasons. Number one, it is the most consistent at doing what it wants to do across the course of a game. It does something that's incredibly powerful, and it's a very linear strategy. Cards are easy to get. People are going to be able to build that deck. So, right, that's like the level 1 deck. The deck that goes and beats that is, of course, our Cold Bloodlust base decks. So, Ginyu GT, Ginyu Veggies, Mecha Veggies. You have Apes that's still running around. You have Galactic Frieza, Golden Frieza, Mecha Frieza, as I said before, still in the format. So you have those decks going in next. And then after that, you have like the more aggro decks or the more value-based decks. So things like Mass Saiyan and Pan and SS3. And honestly, in a lot of my testing, with the prevalence and the strength of the Cell Chain decks, with Androids and Cell being a deck that's incredibly popular right now, I don't want to say that SS3 is unplayable. I think the deck is still incredibly good against a lot of the format. But I will say that matchup makes it incredibly difficult, and a matchup that I really don't want to play inside of a tournament setting as SS3, because a lot of things do have to go your way. I mean, a lot of times you are the better player, you should be able to squeak out those wins, but that's not something you can always count on. So to be honest with you, I have been testing a lot of SS3 decks, kind of throwing against the wall and seeing what sticks. I do like some SS3 builds, but as of right now, it is not a deck I am considering for the Hartford event. I don't feel like it's well positioned. I feel like there's a lot of people that are going to be playing the deck, and the deck is easily susceptible to a lot of things that are currently in the metagame. So a few leaders that I do like right now, I already mentioned them, Mass Saiyan and Pan. Mass Saiyan is still phenomenal. It was a tier 1 leader when Mecha Frieza existed, as a tier 1 leader now, and in fact actually has a really, in my opinion from testing, a really good matchup against the Cell Chain based decks. It can apply pressure early, and a lot of the things you have to do is just try and get your super combos online so you continue to force through damage and make their turns really awkward, because they have to be afraid of dying, and you want to spend your cards anyway. So Mass Saiyan is incredibly well positioned. And then of course I really like Pan. Pan is great against a lot of these Mecha Frieza decks, a lot of the Ginyu decks, because of the way that you maintain card advantage over the course of the game. It's also really good against stall decks because you're just going to continue to draw cards. You don't have to worry about force flipping, whereas they do. And then, in general, the deck just can play the Cell matchup. I'm not saying the Cell matchup is favorable, but I do think it's a matchup that it can win, of course, depending on the decision making that a player makes. And so Pan is also a really well-positioned deck. So honestly, the 4 decks that are on the radar right now are some sort of Cell or Android variant, Cold Bloodlust base deck, Mass Saiyan, and Pan. If I were to guess of what I'm going to be playing when it comes to Hartford in the next few weeks, it's going to be one of those 4 strategies, one of those 4 decks. SS3, like I said, is not on my radar. I don't think that the deck is good enough, especially if you're expecting a field of mirrors as well as a field of, you know, androids and cell chains, since that deck is so easily obtainable and it's now on everyone's radar. So anyway, enough about me talking about the format. I'm going to talk about this deck profile. So this is Jund Pan, so that's green, black, red for all you folks that are familiar with Magic. And so this deck really plays a lot of high value stuff. So it's just green, red, and then black good stuff, and the deck just really thrives on playing a lot of really good cards. And so when you look at the red package, you'll see that everything in here is mostly going to be defensive based. The only thing that I need to make sure I have energy for is in the later parts of the game. I need to make sure I have energy for my topo, but other than that, I really need 1 red to operate throughout the course of the game, just to have a Kaba online. The Kaba is not important. It is not the most important card in the deck. It's not something that I need to draw, but having it to be able to have a 1 energy threat on the board is incredibly powerful, so I really like that. And so I play it in this deck because you need to have the ways to awaken. But otherwise, red is used strictly for defense. So 4 Unending Awakening, which I think is a great negate. This also could be swap of Vados Assistance if you need yourself, need to go and tap your threats if your opponent's swinging into them, just depending on your metagame. We have the 4 Handy Gyros or Super Combo, 4 Double Shot Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta, 4 Bodyguard Legic, and then 4 Pride and Justice Topo. So a lot of the times the reason why I like this deck so much is because you can use things like, so let's say I'm turn 1 on the play. So turn 1 on the play, I can charge a card. So let's say I charge a green card and then play a Legic for free. You get the pan trigger, draw a card, then you can make a play additionally that turn or leave that energy up. And then my favorite thing to do is a lot of times leave my energy up, especially if I'm trying to find my second green source, and then use a double shot Super Saiyan 2 as almost like a cantrip. So you play Legic on 1, draw a card. Your opponent goes to their turn, they attack you, play a Vegeta, draw a card. So now you're starting to get through your deck, starting to find those additional cards that help you fix your energy base throughout the course of the game. And so that's why I really like, of course, these 2 cards. And they're just cards that you just get to play because Pan's a red leader, and you just play Legic because you just don't have things on your board. So the card's incredibly good, very strong with this deck, very strong in any Pan-based deck. And of course you have your 4 Topos. Basically negates 5 through 8. It's a 2 energy threat if you want to play it on offense, and of course it's going to be able to get you that, that treasured draw card on your opponent's turn. If your opponent swings, you play a topo, comes into play, you net a card for the turn on Pan's front or backside. So when we go to green, you run 4 Trunks Spread to the Future. So this is probably the one card in the deck that is something that could possibly go. But again, the major theme is that it helps dig you to a green energy source for your next turn, so you can hit double green, so you can start to deploy all your major threats. This card's really good for that. But that's really it. That's all this card really serves as, and of course it's green energy a lot of the time when you draw it. 4 Saiyan Teamwork Kaba. This card, simple, is just get your Caulifla and your Kales. Reducing your cost to your Kales is incredibly powerful, especially with a leader like Pan, because there's times where you'll Kaba, next turn you'll drop your Kale, you'll draw a card off the Kale for the Pan trigger, you'll swing with your Kale, you'll draw a card for the Kale trigger, and then now you're just drawing a lot of cards that your opponent really can't deal with, and then of course you're swinging with crit every turn. So if you're playing in slower decks, you can really wait to get like your big attackers online before you start doing anything, and then you're good to go from there. My favorite card in the deck, and the reason why I wanted to play green, is because I love Caulifla's interaction with Pan. So if Caulifla comes down as your first card that comes into play that turn, you get to essentially turn her into a draw 2. So draw a card from life, draw a card to hand, and then now you have a 20k body on the table, 25k body on the table thanks to Pan's ability. So I really like this. And then I also like energy powered Go Tanks because of same thing. Effectively you're drawing a card, and then when you swing with this, your opponent's having to discard a card. So the value you pick up from this, and it's now a 20k attacker, tons of value there as well. Puts pressure on the opponent, also forces them to have to discard combo pieces a lot of the time. And then this card, oldie but a goodie. No one really plays it anymore, but I really wanted just a hard removal spell for just any threat that my opponent could play. So a lot of times you're playing in Cell, you need some sort of removal to kill the 7-drop Cell. I play 2 Determined Super Saiyan Son Gohans in the main deck, so this can kill basically anything that's coming out, and then I just have it there just in case my opponent plays something that's bigger than 5 energy and Kale can't get to it. The Determined Gohans are there, and of course you get the benefit of the same thing. When this comes down, it draws you a card off of Pan's ability, and then when you swing, it's a crit, so it's denying your opponent a card. So again, it's almost like a 2-card swing, similar to Gotenks, similar to our Kale, similar to our Caulifla, drawing 2 cards. Just all this deck does is just provide a lot of incremental advantage over the game, and it rewards you for being patient. This is definitely more of a mid-range deck. You don't have to be aggressive, and you can really just win a lot of the wars of attrition, especially against people that are self-awakening leaders, because you're going to pressure every single turn without really trying, and you're just drawing cards with Pan over the course of the game that they don't have that luxury. And of course, the last card of the deck is 4 Time Patrol Trunks. Time Patrol with Pan is like peanut butter and chocolate. It's just too good. So, you know, when this comes down, it's your first. It's always going to be your first battle card when it comes down because you need to get the triggers. But when it comes down, you'll look at the top 2 with Time Patrol Trunks, draw a card for Time Patrol Trunks, and then you'll use that scry ability to either keep the other card on top so you can draw it with Pan's ability, or move it to the bottom so you can find something else, find a better card. So, Time Patrol Trunks with Pan effectively ends up being draw 2. So there's a lot of draw 2s in this deck. So there's a lot of ways to gain hand advantage on the opponent throughout the course of a game. There's a lot of incremental value, and this deck just can grind out so many wins. If you're a patient player, this deck is great for you. If you're a player that likes to play more aggressive, I highly recommend playing Mass Saiyan. I have Red Black Brew of Mass Saiyan that I've been playing a lot, that I'm enjoying over this past weekend. Been doing a ton of testing with it. It's been highly successful, especially against Cell Chain. So there's a lot of stuff that you guys can do right now. But this is my Pan Jun mid-range deck. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. You guys have questions, comments, concerns, personal crises, issues, you want to reach out to me, you have some negative feedback or comments, whatever, post it in there. I don't mind it. Any feedback is good feedback. Thank you guys so much for everything you do as a community. Sorry videos are only once a week, but with the way the format is right now, with the amount of time that I had to test, this is what I'm doing. And I want to make sure, like I said before, I stated a couple weeks back, I don't want to just put out videos for you guys just to put out videos. I want to make sure that I'm putting out stuff that you can take to your local tournament and win an event with it. Stuff that you can just go through and enjoy from there. And let me see if I actually updated my black-green cell. Yeah, no, I'm still sitting on 2 Fu Shrouded in Mystery. This actually was edited, so you guys know I'm currently playing with -1 Fu Shrouded in Mystery plus a Scientist Fu. So I'm splitting those because the second Fu Shrouded in Mystery was a little bit too much for me. And then that right there is the only change that I've made so far to the deck. But otherwise, the deck is still testing really, really well. I really like it. Another thing you can look at is a combination attack Android 14s. If you wanted to put more Androids in the deck, I do not blame you. I just like this card because if your opponent ever tries to go wide or if they're ahead on energy, you can usually get ahead, stay ahead on them. So I really like this deck as well. And then, of course, I have Red Black Mass Saiyan, which I'll go over with you guys at some point soon, but you guys can see that there for now. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for everything you do as a community. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you guys need anything, want anything from me, you can reach out to me via Messenger. I'm always available. Anyway, thanks. Okay, bye.